All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I'm Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And this evening, we are joined all the way from Mexico this evening, our first international interview
No, it's not.
with Kaylin. No, it's not. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. Yeah, if Scott's listening, he's going to be upset.
It's our first Mexican interview.
It's
That's
our
what I
first
meant.
Mexican, yes.
Sorry, it's been a long day, but we are joined this evening by Kaylin McFarren, author of Twisted Threads. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Kaylin. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience. Walking me through this.
We were just talking while we were trying to walk you through it that we have to come up with some kind of tutorial on how to join Hangouts so we can send it to people before the show. So that's going on the list.
Okay.
So now this is Wine, Women, and Words, so it is customary to ask if and what you are drinking this evening.
Well, okay. Unfortunately, I'm a big wino. I love wine, all different kinds of wine. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to partake this evening. So I'm going to, when I get done talking with you folks, I'm going to go get drunk.
Sounds like that kind of night.
But I like all kinds of wines. I love Merlot. Merlot is my wine of choice when I'm writing.
Nice. Yeah. Nice choice.
Everyone needs their beverage of choice while they're writing, I feel like.
Yes.
Mine is usually coffee because it's at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's a little too early for wine.
It is.
For most people. So, Diana, what are you having tonight?
What's that?
What was that?
You, Diana.
Oh, me? What am I drinking?
Yes.
I'm drinking the high-end label of California Roots Pinot Grigio.
Oh, that's one of my favorites too. I like Pinot Grigio.
It's such a great value wine, and it's a great tasting wine. And the California Roots, it's only $5 at Target. And, yeah.
Well, some of the best wines are cheap, It's okay.
Exactly. And I've been a Pinot Grigio convert since this fall, when we actually got to go to France and drink at some of the wineries there. And their specialty in Alsace is Pinot Grigio. So, yeah. Pinot Grigio is my new favorite wine.
It is. I love it. That's kind of my summer wine. So I really enjoy that. Yeah. Very nice. I'm an Oregonian from Oregon. So we're kind of the Pinot place, Pinot Noir is what it's all about there. So yeah.
And I am actually having wine this evening. I feel like last week did I have wine? I don't know. I know I skipped a week somewhere. But I found this. It's called, it's a hard cider, and it's called Crispin Rosé.
Oh, that looks nice.
And I was out, this is going to sound bad, but it's not. I was out getting all the beverages and snacks and everything for my daughter's 4th birthday party last weekend. And I was just pushing the cart past the wine section, and I saw that, and I said, you know what? I'm celebrating something today, too. So I bought that for myself, and I have one left over.
Good for you. You enjoy.
Excellent. I saved one specifically for tonight because it's actually really good, and it's like a perfect summer drink. Like sit out by the pool and not realizing that you're consuming alcohol.
Yes,
you have to find that one. And I mean, I don't judge you for getting alcohol while you're shopping around for your 4-year-old's birthday party, because again, it is a 4-year-old's birthday party. And I'm sure there was a lot of fun toddler stuff happening where mommy really needed a glass of wine.
I think so.
We had Rapunzel, so Rapunzel handled all the entertainment. So I just got to sit back and watch. It was awesome.
That's the best kind of party.
So I guess, we could probably talk about wine all night, but we probably should talk about books too. That's the other half of the show. But we were just talking about, before the show started, Diana was telling me a story about a friend who just got back from a cruise.
Yeah, she just got back yesterday, and on her cruise, a woman actually jumped from the ship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she survive?
Yes, she is in stable condition. That's all I know. But the other thing was that there was a bull shark following the ship when she jumped.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a miracle that she survived. But I don't know, there's something about cruise ships that kind of lend themselves to being a perfect mystery
Yeah.
stage. What was it that drew you to writing about being on a cruise ship?
It was really interesting because my husband and I have taken a number of cruises, and we went to Greece and Portugal and did, and we've had some wonderful times on our trips, but there's always an incident. Every time you go on a cruise, I hate to say that because it's not really fair to some people who really love cruising, but every time we've gone, there's either been an outbreak of some type of flu where there's so many people sick and they isolate you, or there's some kind of incident or somebody's missing, or there's some kind of something's happened where they go up to the bars and they have shut it all down because there's some kind of fight breaks out or something. So it just seems like there's so many incidents that I kept thinking it would be fun if I took all bunch of incidents and put it into one book and make it the ultimate murder mystery cruise ship. So that's what Twisted Threads is about. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, it has that that already, kind of horror movie setting where there's nowhere to go. No matter what happens, you're stuck on that ship with.
And that's want to be bull shark bait. So I mean, that's always an option, I'm sure.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Well, it was interesting because while I was doing this book, I had to do some research. And believe it or not, all the incidents that happened in this book actually did happen on ships. It's nothing, it's crazy. There is an incident where there was sword fighting. So if anybody reads the book and says, well, they couldn't bring swords on board, they find ways to do it. There was an incident where there's actually somebody was trapped in the elevator and was beheaded. Really happened. There's, every single incident in there I took from real stories, from research, but the thing is I brought them all together in one book. So I had to keep the pages turning and keep your interest. And so I'm hoping that's what I accomplished here.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of, speaking of sword fighting and beheading, the first time that we meet Akira at the very beginning of the book, she's a very, and forgive my French, but she's a kick-ass assassin.
I love it. Yeah.
The first time you really meet her, 5 minutes into meeting her, she's naked in the woods, covered in blood, burying dead bodies.
Yes.
It's a very vivid introduction to a character.
Yes.
So where did her inspiration come from?
Well, her story actually, because this is a series that's called the Thread series, and her story actually starts in the second book that's called Buried Threads, which takes place in Japan. And she starts out as a Maiko, becomes a geisha. And while she's a geisha, she ends up being contracted to a member of a Yakuza gang. And he is killed. And she believes that the head of the Yakuza gang association actually is responsible for killing him. And so she tries to eliminate him by poisoning him. And when she fails at that, he forces her to become a trained assassin. So he basically, punishes her in that way. But in doing so, she has gone around and she's gone through training and all kinds of skills and everything to become this assassin. But she's still this really naive person inside because she doesn't know the world like a lot of people would when it comes to relationships. She just knows it is what she's been trained to do. So coming on board this ship, she's been trained to come there and eliminate someone who she believes is responsible for killing the Yakuza leader's sister in another trip. And in doing so on this journey, she meets her love of her life, and it kind of changes her whole perspective on how she feels about herself and how she moves forward. So it's kind of a complicated storyline.
It explains why it has to be told in multiple books.
Has to be, yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit
interesting.
Yeah, but it truly stands alone. It's it's a story about this particular person's journey into finding herself. But it's kind of fun for people who are kind of into the mystery and thrillers, and also they like a little bit of romance. It kind of rolls it up together in one genre. So very different kind of story for people. Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing it though. So I spent a lot of late nights, putting a lot of hours in, and drinking a lot of wine. Yeah.
That's part of a lot of late nights and wine. And there's that saying, write drunk, edit sober.
Yes.
I think that has worked very well for me over the years. So.
It's so funny because some of my best writing is when I'm a little tipsy. And then,
I agree with you on that. And I find that so very true, because when you've had the alcohol, it takes away those inhibitions, and I personally think that it relaxes your mind enough so that you can feel free to not second guess yourself when you put down those words.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you might surprise yourself what you've written when you're sober. Yeah.
Go back and you're like, wow, I am a genius when I am drunk.
Yes, exactly. Tends to happen.
That's what I think every time that I'm drunk, that I am the funniest person alive and that I am a genius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, it's a very interesting, but it like ends, this is the so I'm going to be doing a sci-fi. My next book's a very different kind of element. So I'm going to do where it's about a stunt pilot, a female stunt pilot, and she inadvertently hits another plane, clips a plane's wing, based on a true story, but it takes her back in time, 20 years earlier. So she encounters her father, who she never met, and develops a relationship with him, and ultimately saves his life. So it changes the future because of it. Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
Really fun. Yeah, so I'm having fun with it right now.
Complicated and fun.
It's going to be a little bit, but it's going to be a standalone. It's not going to be a series, so. But it's going to be a very different kind of story for me to write. So I'm having fun with it. Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have to come back on when that comes on.
Definitely.
Get that out.
Yeah,
and bring your wine with you too.
Will do. I'll bring sake.
Okay, there you go. That works too. Or the new, my friends have introduced me to the Korean.
Shochu.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah. Oh, it's yummy. It's good. Yeah. Dangerously.
Dangerously good. Yes. Because we'll go out for Korean barbecue with friends often, and it's they'll get like the pictures of either watermelon, which tastes just like Jolly Ranchers, or or cranberry. The cranberry one is really good. Michelle, you would really like this. You get.
I know. I'm taking notes.
Yes.
Excellent. Great. So what kind of books do you guys like to read?
Everything.
No, I'm of the two of us, I'm the thriller person. I love all genres, but thrillers are really kind of my favorite.
Yes.
And Diana is historical fiction.
That's my main thing. Yeah, that's what I'm writing, and that's what I do a lot of reviews of, is a historical fiction.
Very good.
I enjoy fantasy and sci-fi. Like, I like urban fantasy. When I need a break, I'm a huge fan of the Mercy Thompson series.
Fun.
Briggs books. I love them.
Very good. Yeah. Well, my oldest daughter, she writes historical fiction.
Oh.
My oldest daughter is Christina McMorris.
Okay.
And she does World War II era. So 1930, 1940, 1950 era type books. And but they're primarily about the war, and they're all based on a lot of research, but they're great stories. And she's a USA Today, New York Times bestseller now. So so I have to watch for her. Yeah, she's very talented.
Yes, I'll have to watch for her, and check to see if I have read the books, because the name does sound somewhat familiar. Then again, I think I'm reading so many historical fiction lately. That's so know, one good thing and the bad thing about reviewing books is that you end up with just so many books that you end up having to read and review.
Yes.
When Twisted Threads came through for us, I was like, okay, this is definitely a Michelle book. I know she's going to enjoy this. I'm just going to send this straight to her. We're not even going to wait for me to read it.
Yes, thrillers are definitely my thing. And one of the things that I'm always so fascinated with about, murder mysteries or thrillers is the writing process that the author went through, because you have to lay clues and you have to like drop hints through the story without giving everything away. So I'm always really interested in knowing like how you map everything out, or was it just kind of organic the way that it developed?
Okay. I know after writing, three books in this series, I knew what their quirks were, what their weaknesses were, what their strengths were, and how they would react when put together with other characters in the story. So that kind of was helpful for me. But what's interesting to me is a lot of writers and authors will do boards, where they do sticky notes and they kind of plot out how each chapter is going to run. And but how I do my plotting is I do it on Pinterest. So if anybody wants to know what I'm writing next, is if you go on my Pinterest boards, I actually plot my stories out by pictures. So I anticipate like how somebody's going to look, or what's going to happen to them in the story. And I kind of build it like building blocks, like a piece of art. And so as the story evolves, I might insert certain things to happen, but I know what the story's going to be from beginning to end when I start it. So I almost dream up my stories. It's very unusual. So I'm already plotting when I get almost 2/3 through a book. I already know what the next book's going to be. My problem is I can't write fast enough. So
I hear you on that.
Yeah. And so, but that's, it's totally how I plot, totally on Pinterest. It's a really handy tool. I think a lot of authors are starting to use it. So,
it is. Yeah, and I'm starting to see book bloggers using it for books. And so usually, like, mine's just to mess with all sorts of cooking recipes. That's where I go to recipes.
That's okay. That's cool.
Yeah, you don't really need cookbooks that much anymore, because it's, really taken over that. Between that and some of my knitting stuff, I'm like, oh, Pinterest.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. That's such a great idea with the plotting, at least, because I know, like, I'll gather together images for my stuff, for my book, and so I'll have images and ideas, and it's a nice thought to actually put that in a Pinterest board to look at. Yeah,
because I used to do it like almost like a journal, where I'd put together, all my characters and all their characteristics and I would actually build like a journal while in the process of writing. And I just found it's much easier for me, and therefore I'm not writing a book to write a book, So it just makes it a faster process.
I love hearing people's creative processes. Everybody's got something slightly different.
It is. It's fun. Yeah, you learn something new.
Yeah, no two brains are the same.
Exactly.
That's really, I don't think I've ever heard the Pinterest storyboard before, but it's so true. I mean, I've gone to Pinterest to look up outfit ideas for other periods or other worlds, I guess, for me, because I don't know like how someone would dress, so I'll go to find like the look that I want, and then find out what the pieces are all called, because I don't know. So I can actually describe it and sound like I know what I'm talking about. But now that you say that, you could take it a step forward and build your whole world on there. I might have to try that.
I think it might be helpful. Yeah, you have to let me know how that works.
I will. Because having that visual must be so much easier, especially if you ever get stuck on something. You can just go back and look at your pins and your board, and it can help you out.
Definitely. It definitely helps me.
Now, and I haven't read the previous books in the series. Is Akira the only character that comes through, or were like Paul and Sarah and Devin, were they in the previous books as well?
They all the characters that are in this book that are prime characters, that are which are, you know, relatives that are related, have been in previous books, but they've been secondary characters. So you're kind of been introduced when you read Banished Threads, which is the book before this one. You're introduced to all the British and English characters that are introduced, that are on the cruise ship. So anybody that reads that will have a better understanding of their dynamics and little twisted aspects. Like Sarah, she's a little bit quirky and strange, and but you find out more about her, you know, in the previous story, and you're actually left on Banished Threads wondering if she is a murderer. So that's how the book ends. So you're not quite sure if she has killed somebody. And so bringing her on board this ship was really a lot of fun, because I have a couple other people that have suspicion of doing murder or having had crimes against them brought together in one place, and then putting them at a dinner table talking to each other when they're thinking the whole time that they would like to get rid of each other. You know, it's kind of fun. So, but they're actually characters out of all the books. So that's why I kind of wrapped it all up in this one. This was the finale that kind of brought them all together at the end. Yeah, so it's fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And Sarah was actually one of the characters that like stood out to me the most, especially, you know, having not read the previous books, and this is was my first introduction to her. Yes. She, you know, at first she seems like this very quiet, you know, mellow, kind of sideline type character where she doesn't mind. She just goes with the flow. And then all of a sudden, Paul has like this total breakdown about how her other husbands have disappeared and he doesn't know what happened to them. And then you find out that Sarah isn't really this like laid back person that you think she is.
Exactly.
So, and how fun was it for you? I mean, you've carried these characters through several stories now, to see how the characters developed over the course of the series.
It was really, I think that was the most fun for me, is because they all, as each book goes, you know, for any writer, your whole point is to try to grow your character, to make them have changes in their lives, so that, you know, there's a you know, some type of plot or something, but something that changes them before by the end of the book, they're a different personality, or they've solved their problem, or whatever it is. But in doing all of them together was really fun, because it was like a slow progress, going up a mountainside, and then gradually getting, you know, you get to the very top of the hill and you're coming down, and but bringing them all into the whole circle of life, per se, where they all kind of finalized all the issues that they needed to do. Sarah, who ultimately, you find out she's a little quirky and crazy and so forth, but we knew that, you know, when you were introduced to her, but you didn't know to what extreme. Mm-hmm. And Akira, who finally finds her solutions in her life that she needed. But each one of them has been a process of growth throughout the whole series. And so it was fun finishing it, but now I get people emailing me and calling and so forth going, oh, you can't end it. You know, you have to keep going, because they're all attached to these people, you know, and some people actually write to me and talk about them like they're real, kind of like soap opera characters, you know, mm-hmm. and they think they're real people. So they don't want them to go away. They don't want the stories to end. So I don't know, maybe someday bring one back, but I'm kind of ready after doing 4 books. I'm kind of something new. So
yeah, I can understand that. I've talked to her on the show before. She's a comic book artist, and she created this comic book series, and she's like, we were talking about how much of a bittersweet concept it is, where people just, if they love your series and they want more and more of your series, mm-hmm. Yes. It's like you're stuck. You've got, you know, you kind of feel like you've got to produce more of the series, even though you want to do something else and maybe take a break and write another 1 or 2 books. They're like, no, we want this series, because her initial for the series, the comic book series that she did, it was supposed to be a one-off. It was just one comic that she did, and everybody loved it so much that they begged her to do more. And now she's on like comic number 5, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm intending on doing this as a series."
Yeah.
It's kind of a good thing. It's,
Yeah, it's not always planned. It's when I initially did Severed Threads, the first book in this series, I didn't plan it to make it a series. I didn't. It's like I fell in love with the characters, and it's and I deliberately left it on a hook that someday maybe if I wanted to come back and write another installment in the book, I could, because it's like they end up at the end of the first book, they end up getting invited to go to Japan to look for treasure there. And so you could have ended there, but I thought, you know what, I'm having so much fun, I think I'll just keep going. But I think there's a point when you have to just make up your mind, or do you want to keep this going, or do you want to move on to something else? And I think I loved it so much, but I felt like I knew my characters so well. I don't know if I could really make them grow any more than they already have,
Yeah, leave it on a high. It's always a good thing.
Leave them on a high. Yeah, leave them happy,
Good.
So, yeah, definitely.
Well, we're so happy to have been able to check out your book and have you join us on the show. You have to absolutely keep in touch with us and let us know when your sci-fi book is done, because
will do.
That sounds fabulous.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for bearing with us through the technical difficulties.
Oh, thank you for bearing with me. I'm so new at all this.
Yes.
So we are going to switch over now and start talking about our book of the month. And like I said, you're welcome to stay and hang out, or if you would like to go check out your wine, totally understand.
It will not keep you from your alcohol.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. We understand.
Okay, well, I think I'll call it a night, ladies. So you enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much.
Have a glass for each of us, in addition to your own.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we are switching over now to start talking about, and I did receive my copy now, The Lost Season of Love and Snow. And what's unique about this particular book that is, if you open it to the title page here, why, yes, that is a signature and a note from the author, and she spelled my name right, which is really exciting.
That's because I was there.
I know.
And she asked me, and I told the joke. I was like, her parents could only afford one L. The joke that I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, that for me never gets old.
It's funny still. I like it.
Okay. Before we go on, though, we do have a couple of announcements for everybody. For those of you who are listening, we are a little bit behind on loading up some of our podcasts. We need to do some editing for Dennis's. So don't worry, we'll get that up so you guys can listen to Dennis, and I'll get everything else loaded up hopefully tonight, possibly tomorrow. I don't know. Boca de Oro just totally took me for a loop. But the bigger news that we have, because I got to see Jennifer in person on Saturday, she left us a couple of gifts to share with you guys, since she will be on at the end of the month. We have not one, but 2 copies of Lost Season of Love and Snow that we will be giving out to you guys. So the Rafflecopter is live right now. The link is on our Facebook page at present. We will be tweeting it out and sharing it with the world to be able to get your entry for this wonderful contest. You have to either follow Michelle, myself, or Jennifer on Twitter. Or you can also, or in addition to all of those, you could do all 3 of those. Plus, you can go to iTunes and rate us on iTunes, which you totally need to do. Because we will love you forever and ever and ever, and possibly give you a book for it. But hopefully it's like 3+ stars. I would prefer that. 1 or 2 stars, because that would be really crappy if you guys go and rate us 1 star and you go into the entry and you give us 1 star. So don't be dicks. Don't give us a 1 star. If there's anything we learned from tonight's podcast, people, don't be dicks.
I mean, we're fun. We're fun to listen to.
I'm lovable. I like to think that I am lovable. And
my husband is trying really hard not to pay attention to what we're saying right now. But yeah, so go do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Since this arrived this afternoon, unfortunately, I have not been able to start reading it, but we are going to talk about the people the book is about, because this is historical fiction and it is based on real people.
Mm-hmm. Which, before we get into this, I want to stand on my soapbox here. So, excuse me, people, soapbox time. Because this issue has come up recently with The Greatest Showman. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, yeah. I read a few articles, and I know what you're going to say. I read a couple articles about the historical inaccuracies of the movie. And then I saw the one that Greer posted this evening about Jenny Lind.
Yes, and that is a soapbox I'm getting on, is about Jenny Lind. Because I read that article. Because, okay, P.T. Barnum was a dick. I think that is the theme of the night, is dicks. Don't be a dick, and this is what happens when you are a dick. You get a movie made about you, and then people complain about it, or people just end up hating you. He was a very awful person in general. He did a lot of bad things, and so the movie literally whitewashes all of that, and it makes him out to be this dreamer who wanted to create something wonderful. But then did you read the article in full, Michelle, about Jenny Lind?
I skimmed it, but
Okay.
but I had read that the whole, apart from how they met, that part was accurate, and they did go on tour. But the details after that were blurry in the movie.
Yeah, they did not have a romantic relationship. So yeah, after the fact, spoilers on the movie. So they did not have a romantic relationship, and in the movie they paint her out to be a villain, when in reality they had a business relationship. She didn't like the way that he handled the business and the way he was handling the tickets. And she said, you know what? My contract gives me an out. I'm going to take my out. Nice knowing you. And then she takes off and goes to do business with somebody else. There is no harsh feelings. She is not a pyro. She does not burn down his museum. And the movie takes her and turns her into this villain when it shouldn't have done so. It created a villain and smeared her name for no reason, just to create some drama, which I'm sure there was plenty of drama that could be created, because I'm sure he had enemies that they could have put in there. But no, they wanted to just smear and make the woman the bad guy because they're lazy ass writers. And this is historical fiction, and when people look at historical fiction, whether it is a movie, whether it is a book, they're going to take you at your word, and they're going to think that what you're saying is true. So if you're going to do historical fiction in any way, shape, or form, get your freaking facts right. And there is enough drama and history where you can just have a bad guy, and I need to drink more wine. In the words of Chevy Chase and National Lampoon's, hallelujah, where's the aspirin?
Well, that being said, I thought, historical facts aside, I did think the movie was amazing.
Okay.
Like, if you're just taking it as a movie, if you're not taking it as based on fact, if you're just taking it as from an entertainment standpoint, it was gorgeous, and the songs were amazing, and the acting was amazing, and one of the greatest love storylines in that movie never existed in real life. So I am okay with that. I was actually kind of bummed out that Philip Carlisle and Zendaya's character, can't think of her name right now, didn't exist, because I loved that story. But anyway. But that is Diana's soapbox for the evening.
Yes. Yeah, I think there should be a segment, Diana's soapbox for the evening.
But we are going to talk about Alexander Pushkin and Natalia, totally going to butcher her last name, Goncharova.
Pretty close. When we have Jenna on, we'll have to make her say it properly.
And I love the Russian language. I was in research mode, and I was reading about Alexander and Natalia, and I found this article, and I'm sure Jennifer probably came across this. I would assume that she must have in her research. There was an article in Newsweek from a couple of years ago saying how Natalia is finally kind of being resurrected and given the reputation that she deserves, because she was totally smeared for no good reason after Alexander Pushkin was killed.
She was the bitch who got the country's favorite poet killed. And when Jennifer talked about the book on Saturday, what made her curious about it was when she was studying Russian history, Natalia's name kept coming up, and it kept coming up as pretty much that bitch who got Alexander killed. And she was like, what's the story on this? I need to find out about this. And the more she dug, the more she found that it wasn't really necessarily her fault, but she was one of these women in history who got that bad rap, who got this bad reputation, mostly through no fault of her own. And so she took the story and ran with it.
And I was I don't know if it was the same article or a different article, but there was a historian who wrote a biography on Natalia, and she found all these letters and diaries that Natalia kept, and these letters that she saved from Alexander. And I don't really know much about Alexander Pushkin. I know that he was a poet. I know that he was Russian. That's about it.
I got one of his poems. Were you able to find one of his poems?
Well, I read, I read a few of like the plot lines of some of his stories and some of his poems, and I do want to start reading him because they sound really interesting. But what was I saying? One of the letters, I feel like maybe he might not have been this squeaky clean poet that everyone like worships, only because in the letter he was kind of a dick to his wife. She wrote him this little poem to make him happy because her husband's a poet, and he wrote back telling her not to write him poems because he's tired of his own.
Yeah, that's really dickish. Again, people, don't be a dick. So when I went and did the review, because you guys can check out my review of the book, I did it on January 10th on Creating Her Story. I found a poem that I thought was really fitting for the book. And the poem is, not long ago, in a charming dream, I saw myself, a king with crown's treasure. I was in love with you, it seemed, and heart was beating with a pleasure. I sang my passion sung by your enchanting knees. Why dreams, you don't prolong my happiness forever, but gods deprive me, not of whole their favor. I only lost the kingdom of my dreams. And so that's one of those poems. Huh?
Well, I mean, anyone can write a poem.
Yeah, right.
But he did love this woman, like, completely. And can we just pause? So she was supposed to be the most beautiful woman in Russia. That's what the Tsar said, that she was the most beautiful woman in Russia. So of course every other woman in Russia hated her. But the man who ultimately killed her husband was her brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Because he told Natalia, like, dropped to his knees in front of her in court, in front of everyone else, and begged her to be his and run away from him. He was already married. And if she didn't do that, then he would put a bullet in his brain. And
for fuck's sake, man. Oh, sorry. Again, guys, don't be a dick. That is being a dick.
And so naturally, Alexander was a little irked that someone would be telling that to his wife. And
which he has an absolute right to be irked by. Let's take a pause here. And for those of you who are like, oh, well, he's trying to do a romantic gesture. Let's take two things into consideration. One, he is still married to her sister. 2, she is married. 3, he professed his love in the most important room in all of Russia, in front of the nobility and everything, basically parliament. Governing body, anything that's of importance happens there. So he professes his love there to her in front of everybody. And I can only imagine her complete embarrassment.
Yeah, and something happened, like a kid ran into the room or something and kind of took everyone's attention away. So she was able to skedaddle in a different direction. But I don't know if you knew this, but this was also the second time that Alexander had challenged Georges Dantes to a duel. He rescinded his first challenge because George proposed to Natalia's sister. And then the second time, I guess you can't piss off the same Russian twice. And
I've heard some stories about the Russians. My husband and my soon-to-be brother-in-law, they both have worked with the Russians in the military. And yeah, Russians, they be crazy sometimes. They have done some crazy shit. And yeah, you don't piss off a Russian because you never know what they're going to do and what they're going to pull on you. True story.
And then after the duel, I don't know. Am I giving spoilers here? Well, it's history.
It's
not really spoiled.
We know he dies in a duel. We know this happens.
So, and then, okay, I just pulled up little facts about the duel and everything. But this is what women, like, I really don't understand women we really need to stick together and support each other instead of tearing each other down. But Anna, another poet there are two female poets who are kind of I don't know, you have to ask Jennifer. I don't know if they were as good as Pushkin, but like the female counterparts, but they were very well known as poets in their own right. But they kind of rose up as the mean girls of Natalia's existence. So one of them was Anna Akhmatova, one of them was Marina, I don't know, starts with a T with a lot of consonants, wrote that Natalia was a beauty and nothing else, just a beauty without a brain, a soul, a heart, without any talent. Nude beauty striking like a sword, and she struck. Like, ouch. Damn.
Yeah, that's a cool takedown. Nude beauty striking like a sword, and she struck. That's rough.
So for a very long time, Natalia has not been highly regarded in Russian history, but now they're starting to bring her back and give her, I don't know if credit is the right word, but
voice. Giving her a voice so that she could tell her side of the story.
And Russia I think the article was from 2012, so this is a few years back, because it just clicked for me that it's 2018, so that was 6 years ago now. But Russia hosted this huge ball for Natalia's 200th birthday. Mm-hmm. And it was like very of her time, of the period. So mm-hmm. All the officers wore their uniforms and their medals, and they had a band playing similar music that would have played at the Christmas ball where she met Alexander. So I have to see if maybe there's video or photos or something, because that would be cool to see.
That would be really cool. We'll have to post it on the Facebook page, which you guys should all be following. What I love is that Tolstoy makes an appearance. Tolstoy is my favorite Russian author, and he was a friend of Pushkin's. So he makes an appearance in this book, and I swear to God, if I ever get Brian ever loves me a male dog, I'm going to name it Tolstoy. He likes his female dogs, but I want a little boy dachshund, and I want to name him Tolstoy.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Right? Isn't that the cutest name for a dog? And guys, if you guys are thinking about getting a dog and you want to name your dog Tolstoy, I will not be offended. You can take the name and you can use it because it's not like with a kid name, you know. But you can use it. But you gotta send me pictures. I want to see these pictures of your dog named Tolstoy. But one of the things I like about it, because Russian literature is very distinct, at least during this time period, where you've got all these families and you find out about the histories of all these families, and there's this very specific writing style of Tolstoy, and I'm sure of Pushkin too, since they're friends and contemporaries. You see it in War and Peace and Anna Karenina, where it's a very, very, very Russian style. And this book actually has a feeling of it. You know, she doesn't fully capture that, which is okay because War and Peace was a hard book to get through. I recommend guys checking out the Lifetime mini series on it because War and Peace is thick. I'm still trying to get through Anna Karenina, and I've got it on audiobook. And literally 2 chapters, possibly 3, if I remember correctly, are all about the history of these families and just setting up these families before you even get to Anna. I took a break from it before I even got to Anna. I think Anna was just starting to arrive.
It's like Tolkien and Lord of the... That was one reason why I couldn't read Lord of the Rings, was every single time a new character comes in, all of a sudden you're reading like 17 generations back. And who he is.
There is such a thing as his info dump. You can't dump too much information on a reader.
By the time you get back to the story, I forgot, like after reading about the family tree, I forgot what was happening in the story. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't.
And the prologue for this is beautiful. And I've got a thing lately about prologues, writing beautiful prologues. And yeah, Michelle read one of the new ones of the stories I'm playing with.
It was a good prologue.
Isn't it a good prologue? And it's nice, short prologue. Just, I just picture that being 1 page to really set the mood for the book. Anyways, Jennifer's prologue is gorgeous. That's what really sold me on the book. It starts off, a man says he will die for you. A woman is taught to lower her gaze and blush before hiding once more behind a silken fan. Men are given to self-aggrandizement. See, this is what happens when you do a reading after too much wine. While women flatter egos and keep men tied to this earth. Such is the way of the world, or so I was taught in the days before I gained a reputation as a villain of St. Petersburg. I know better. When a man declares he will die for you, sometimes a woman must take him at his word, for to allow one's husband to perish on the field of honor is a shameful affair, worse even than murdering him by your own hand. I love those paragraphs. And those are beautiful paragraphs.
Sorry, I was looking at the cover. It's a really pretty cover.
Isn't it? That goes, I think we should have, there needs to be an award for the most beautiful covers.
Yeah.
Most beautiful covers.
My mom is in town and she saw the cover for this and she's like, oh, what is that book? That looks like a book that I can get into.
Is your mother going to steal that book from you?
No. She can get her own copy.
Or you can be a good daughter and you could buy her a copy.
I could do that too.
Or she can actually put in and follow us on Twitter and give us or give us a rating on Instagram, and she can win a copy. Bringing it back full circle for those of you who are listening.
Full circle.
Because we're good at that. That and drinking and reading.
So I'm very much looking forward to starting the book. I might start it tonight.
I hope you start tonight because
I didn't
talk to you about this.
I didn't intend to drink this whole thing. I mean, it's like the wine cooler.
That's wine cooler. That's not very big. That's not like what I've done in past episodes where I've drinking the whole bottle of wine in one episode.
I mean, it's 12 ounces, so that's what?
Not that much.
2 glasses of wine?
Yeah, if that. 2 glasses, depending upon the size of the glass. But funny story, guys. Okay, so I was at Genre LA not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And Deborah Pratt was one of our guests. or on the panel with me for the keynote luncheon. And if you guys recall, Deborah was on the show in January. She was our book of the month. And we had that wonderful drinking game where we had a word where we had to say outstanding. So before we do our panel, and it was a very serious panel dealing with like Me Too movement and all that stuff. So we're talking. I was like, so are we going to have a word of the day like we had on the show? And she just starts laughing. She's like, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. And so I explained to the person next to us, Chad Strapp, who was who's writes comics and horror. Actually, he's going to be doing a comic, I think, and then he does some horror books. Really cool author, really cool guy. If you guys are into horror, check him out. So we explained to them what happened on the episode. And after the episode aired, a friend of mine went and watched the show, and he texted me and goes, so how much wine do you and Michelle go through on an episode? And I was like, not that much, not as much as you would think. And he was like, okay, because you guys went through an awful lot of wine on that show. And I told this to Deborah, and Deborah was like, well, I didn't drink more than a glass. I don't think you and Michelle did. Did anybody drink more than a glass? And slowly, I'm sitting across the table from her, slowly just raise my hand. Shake my head in shame.
I'm pretty sure I had
am the lush in the group. What was that?
I'm pretty sure I had more than one glass that night. I mean, I had a couple glasses before the show because I was at my cousin's house and it was family reunion and we're Italian, so wine and pizza.
Yeah, what else do you drink?
That sounds so good right now. I wish we didn't just throw out all the pizza from Lily's party.
Damn it, now you make me want to go get pizza tomorrow. Don't be a dick, Michelle. I'm trying to diet.
I am a supportive friend who encourages you to eat what you want and follow your dreams. If your dreams are pizza, then go for it.
If I get vegetarian pizza, would that be part of my diet?
I think you can count that.
Yeah, I think I can too.
Get thin crust. There are fewer carbs if it's thin crust.
There you go. But I mean, that's the whole draw of pizza is the carbs, right? Well, it's the carbs, the tomato sauce, and the cheese.
See, I hate tomato sauce. I'm probably like the worst Italian in the world. I hate when people put too much tomato sauce on pizza. It ruins it for me.
But you can't do too much sauce. There's a happy medium for your tomato sauce on a pizza.
Like, I don't like when you bite it and tomato sauce oozes up through the cheese.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Now, I am looking forward to doing some deep dish pizza with you while we're in Chicago.
It's pretty good. I never thought I would like deep dish pizza, but oh my gosh, it is so good. You need like a slice and you're full.
Well, we could share one. It would be awesome.
By the way, sorry, I found another Blues Brothers filming location for our photo shoot.
Are we seriously going to do it? Because I need to buy a suit if we're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking about it, and because I'm going to go out and I'm going to visit Michelle. I was thinking about doing WizardCon, but I'm thinking we might not do WizardCon. Because I feel like there's too much that we need to do while we're in Chicago. I mean, we got to go to the Tiki Bar. We got to go check out the Blues Brothers locations.
There's a lot. There's a lot of bookstores that we have to visit.
Bookstores, Nutella Cafe.
The American Writers Museum.
Yes, American Writers Museum, the Bean.
Well, we can end, American Writers Museum, it's good to introduce ourselves so they know who they'll be featuring.
Yes, exactly. I need to walk up to them, shake their hand, and be like, hello, I'm a future entrant into this. I want you to see this nice big corner right here? Yeah, that's going to be my space right there. So just go ahead and put the reserve sign there for me.
I would like to spot by the window.
I don't want by the window because I don't want my books to get UV damage. And my photos to get UV damage. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, you can take the window spot if you'd like, because then, your books can look out over the Chicago skyline. I'm assuming a Chicago skyline.
There is a Chicago skyline. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
I want to do the glass platform thing. Have you seen that? I think it's like is there a child awake? There's a child awake. I don't know which child it is. They sound so alike sometimes. It's really hard to tell. I think it's Landon.
Wait till one hits puberty.
there's a building. I want to say it's like the John Hancock building. And oh, it sure is landed. Oh, it's both of them.
Well, we've hit our 9:30 mark, so if you do need to go.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that bed head. That is some serious bed head. Ah.
It's never a good sign when both of them come downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But really quick, there's I think it's the John Hancock building in Chicago, and they have like a 360-degree view at the top. And they have an observation deck that's glass. You can go out and stand on the glass and look down. I want to do that.
And then, isn't there a mob tour? My mom's been to Chicago, and she said that she went on a mob tour. I kind of want to go on the mob tour.
That would be fun.
Even though I have a mixed feelings about the mafia history in the United States, it's still part of our cultural history. So I do want to go check that out.
I think that would be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, there's so much we got to do that I don't think I'm gonna have to talk to Ryan because I don't think WizardCon's gonna fit.
True.
Because I mean, I'm only gonna get like what 4 days.
So we're just not gonna sleep for 4 days.
Yeah, no. Sleeping is overrated. As Landon can tell you, you don't get to sleep, mommy. That's why you have coffee.
All right. Oh dear.
All right. Well, I will let you go, you guys. Keep reading Lost Season of Love and Snow. We will be talking about it more next week. And then keep an eye out on our Twitter feed and our Facebook page so you can put your entries in. You guys have a great night. Good luck.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.